Have you thought of breaking through? Ain't it part of what you do? Catch a victim while he's dumb. Break his larynx with your it's high time, and it's time to get high. Well, this ain't no goddamn dream. It's exactly what it seems. Wake up today just to lay back down and say, I won't be coming back. Let's call it a heart attack. Give me some of that knack. This is just a final payback. They all flipped on me, took my passions, left me be. When I had a place to sit, a goddamn attitude to fit. Talk real smooth, knew where to spit. But things have changed and I have quit. Got nothing to look forward to but backlash full of lies. You're too late where you're going. This is fate, the whistle's blowing. It's much too late. It's all too late. You're much too late. Like a piss hole punk with his nose turned up and a fragrance all your own. Tell me what it's like to be alone. And let's not forget the Scarface prick who offers fix to your face. He dropped out of the subhuman race. Sad. Boo-hoo-hoo. I'm goddamn glad that piece of shit was just.
And welcome back to another special edition of the Michael Decon program. I look forward to once again serve you those sounds of salvation. First time listeners, turn on, tune in, and drop out. This is a very different kind of show, a place where we don't feel so alone. Let us chase away the light no matter what you at home choose to believe. I do admire you for your curiosity. Live and direct right now, and under very, very strange circumstances, we have Mr. Jim Fetzer here, live and direct, currently on the road as we speak right now. This is very dangerous. And of course, we do have another very special guest, Mr. Mike Hideous. Let's bring him in. Mr. Mike Hideous, are you out there?
Hello, Michael Decon. Yes, I am.
What's up, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's great to be here, and thank you so much. This is technically my first night as your co-host, and this is sort of a momentous minute for me, or shall we say hour, 2 hours?
Well, Mike, you sort of already have given away the secret.
Oh, damn it. You should have told me. I wouldn't have said anything.
You ruined it already.
Well, short. I'll make it short. Basically, Michael asked me if I would do some co-hosting with him on the show, and I accepted. I've been wanting to do this now for about 3 years, and tonight is my official co-host night. So much thanks to you, Mr. Decon.
We will definitely go over that. Once we are done with this interview, I have lots to say to you.
Excellent. Looking forward to it.
Right on. Let's bring in Mr. Jim Fetzer. It's been a while. Only a few weeks. In my mind, it's been a while. Jim, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Well, what's astonishing is that this new 2020 Titanic known as the Democratic Party is headed for a massive iceberg because the captain is brain damaged. It's so bad, Michael, that they are arranging for the candidate, he and Bernie, to be seated at the debate in Phoenix here. and only to have questions coming from the audience, which are obviously going to be softballs. I guarantee 100% they're going to have Biden connected to a microphone. They're going to have him talk very slowly and deliberately so he can repeat just the words he's told to say. And they're now limiting his stump speeches to 7 minutes. He's making so many gaffes. It's so obvious. I mean, I'm finding a dozen articles by people who are alarmed about the state of Biden's mental competence. And it's just astonishing because Democrats keep endorsing him. I mean, you had right after South Carolina, which was, this was a fraud. He had a 5-point lead over Bernie the week before, and then he winds up with a 30-point lead. That can only be from massive manipulation by Google, where Dr. Robert Epstein testified to Congress back in July that Google, in the 2016 election, had brought as many as between 2.6 and 10.4 million votes to Hillary Clinton, how they repeated in 2018 to give the House to the Democrats and denied Trump a couple of Senate seats he would otherwise have won. And now they're going to go all out now in 2020 to guarantee that Trump is defeated. It's completely outrageous, completely disgusting. YouTube even mislabeled his testimony to Congress, saying it was about censorship, internet censorship, when it was internet vote manipulation. And now that we have, after Super Tuesday, which was just a farce, we have had Buttigieg, Klobuchar, Bloomberg, more recently Cory Booker, all endorsing Joe Biden when Biden is just about the worst possible candidate they could be running. He's establishment, he's corrupt. The whole Ukraine thing reveals it. He has a tendency to molest kids. When Chris Coons was sworn in the Oval Office by the vice president, he leaned over to his daughter and said, as was picked up by the mic and the cameras, do you have any idea how horny it makes me to be standing next to a 14-year-old girl?
Whoa.
And this is going to be the Democratic candidate for president of the United States. Give me a break.
Well, Jim, I'm glad we have started off pretty hot right out the gate. I do appreciate that. And Jim, you got to tell us, where exactly are you right now?
Well, I've left Milwaukee, and I'm heading toward Madison on I-94 with a good friend who came to do a kind of a documentary about my research, my history of research, Michael, from beginning to end, from A to Z. And he believes that there might be some interest in the community at large. We'll see about that. But it's raining here. It's dark, of course. We got the windshield wipers going full blast, and we can just make out the vehicles ahead of us.
Wow, you guys need to be careful out there. Holy shit. Good Lord. Jim, be safe out there.
Yeah, we're gonna make it. But I'm telling you, this Democrat thing is absolutely, I mean, the comparison with the Titanic is exact. They're headed for disaster. Everyone knows they're headed for disaster. I'm finding one article after another questioning whether Biden ought to be the Democrats' candidate, but it's already a done deal. They've already committed themselves. It's completely absurd what they're doing here, and it appears that the project is to have Hillary brought in as the vice president, and then presumably after a successful election with a little help from Google, who Epstein says could bring as many as 15 million votes to the aid of the Democrats, then Biden will resign for reasons of health. They won't even say mental health. They'll just say reasons of health. And Hillary will assume the presidency, which I guarantee is the only way she could ever make it to the top.
Well, I certainly hope not.
First of all, none of that's going to happen because Donald Trump is going to wipe his ass with the Democratic candidates. First of all, Bernie Sanders is not going to win. America is not going to take a socialist president. His ideas or his ideology is too outrageous. He's got no plan, and I'd be very surprised if he won, and I would probably move to Argentina. But and then Biden is just out of he's losing his mind. I mean, I hate to say it, the guy is not fit for office. So
Have you heard of
this
Mike?
is not going to happen. The Democrats are not going to take. They're not going to take the House, or should I say, they're not going to take the White House. It's just impossible unless some miracle happens between now and I guess the summer or September, where some other candidate comes in that's got a little bit of a brain in his head and isn't a communist. Maybe that might be something that would give Trump a run for his money, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah, solid point
the
there.
irony is, I see it. I think that because Bernie's foreign policy overlapped with Trump back in 2016, if the DNC had allowed the caucuses and the primaries to choose the candidate preferred to by the Democratic participants, Bernie would have emerged because Debbie Wasserman sabotaged his campaign, shifted 13 primaries, and Bernie had won to Hillary's column to guarantee she would be the nominee. I actually think Bernie, who generates a lot of enthusiasm, might have beat Trump in 2016. Now, I agree Trump is very formidable, but I'm saying you got to take into account that Google is manipulating the vote as much as 15 million votes coming out of the block. In other words, it's going to have a 15 million vote advantage right from scratch, whoever the Democrats nominate, because Google is going in whole hog on this thing. You've got to watch the testimony of Dr. Robert Epstein to Congress in July. There are two segments. They only run about 10 minutes apiece. You got to watch them to understand what's going on here and why this Super Tuesday thing was so lopsided. Again, it was Google flexing its muscles just as they had in South Carolina. What they're doing is sending out vote reminders. Get out and vote to only targeted audience, only to Democrats. In South Carolina, only to blacks. So that, as Epstein was explaining, it doesn't cost them a dime to do this, and it's invisible. It doesn't leave any traces. So it's absolutely stunning what Google's doing here to interfere with our election. In other words, Russia isn't trying to interfere with our election. Google is interfering with our election, and they've already been doing it again and again.
Yeah, that's right. They've been doing it. And for those that don't know, Joe Biden is sitting on a double-digit lead over Mr. Bernie Sanders in the race for the Democratic presidential nomination. For those that don't know, but that's according to polls. You never know what's going to happen, but as
that's right. It can change.
It can change. But of course, Joe Biden is the chosen messiah for the establishment. At this point.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jim.
Well, it's because he's the establishment candidate. See, Bernie is threatening to the establishment. We haven't had Chris Matthews, now departed from MSNBC, where I like Chris because he seems to be a very genuine guy. I didn't always agree with his analyses, but you knew he meant it when he said it, which is highly unusual because most of these talking heads are total frauds, operating from a script. Every now and then you have Fox, maybe Tucker, or maybe Hannity, or maybe Laura. Three good shows, which I rank Tucker number one, Laura number two, and Hannity the third, because Hannity is more overtly political. Laura and Tucker especially are more objective and balanced. They're actually very good. The one show I recommend everyone should watch on television, this is the only show I recommend, is Tucker Carlson, who's 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central. I mean, that show is worth watching, and then it's repeated later in the evening if you missed the original. But the fact of the matter is that Chris Matthews was explaining he thinks that Democrats aren't worried that Bernie would lose and be this drag on the down ballot. They're worried that Bernie would win and reform the Democratic Party, just as Donald Trump was. They worried about Trump destroying the Republican Party. Well, Trump won, and he reformed the Republican Party into a very much more aggressive, big government but working for the people party, and it's made a huge difference. I mean, Trump's followers are so dedicated, so enthusiastic. Bernie's followers are so dedicated, so enthusiastic. Biden You know, but nobody gives a damn about Joe Biden. He's
That's
a total
true.
mediocrity on his best day. Look at this. He ran 32 years of 3 presidential elections. He won exactly 1 primary when South Carolina took place. That's because he's just a terrible candidate. And now with this brain damage, which is manifesting itself everywhere, so badly that they're having to stage manage the debates, have them seated instead of standing, and only take questions from the audience, which are obviously not going to be penetrating or put anyone on the spot. In fact, they'll probably all be planted questions. And now limiting in 7 minutes on a stump speech. I mean, that's embarrassing. Trump gets up there and he goes on for an hour and a half, and he's totally coherent, and he's got the crowd right with him. He's the master of the media. The guy's a genius at PR. And this is part of the reason why he is where he is today. But Biden has nothing going. Biden has no money. Biden has no program. Biden has no voter enthusiasm. Biden has no argument for why Biden should be president. He's a total loss, and yet that's the guy the Democrats are going for. Why? Because he's awful. Because he's the puppet of the Democratic National Committee. Because he's not going to rock the boat. He's a totally useless candidate. And I find it insulting that they're running him as a candidate. It's a disgrace. It's a betrayal of the party in relation to the American people, because the last thing a responsible political party would do is to run a candidate who's obviously completely senile, incompetent, incapable of doing the job. And that is Joe Biden.
My goodness. And of course, you mentioned Chris Matthews, who just happened to be Me Too'd after all the work that he's put into that movement himself, the originator.
Yeah.
Now he got caught up in the spider web that is the Me Too movement. And of course, we do have an audio clip of him parting ways from his job. Let's roll that audio. Jim, are you ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Let's do it.
Let me start with my headline tonight. I'm retiring. This is the last hardball on MSNBC. And obviously, this isn't for lack of interest in politics. As you can tell, I've loved every minute of my 20 years as host.
Oh, that's repeating too much there.
Yeah.
Take 2.
Yeah, let's not roll that audio. It's gonna repeat too much there for us. But yes, you obviously heard that, correct, Jim?
Yeah. But here's the deal. The Me Too movement is supposed to be promoting the interests of women, right? Women candidates. So the DNC, as soon as Tulsi Gabbard wins 1 or 2 delegates and therefore qualifies for the next debate, they change the rule. And you haven't heard a word. You haven't heard a word from the Me Too movement. You haven't heard a word from Democratic women. This is a Democratic woman. But they don't like her because she doesn't have the right, extremely feminist idiot agenda. In other words, because Tulsi Gabbard is actually a responsible, thoughtful person, highly intelligent, very well spoken. She's a military veteran. She speaks with considerable authority. They can't have her on the stage with Bernie and Biden because the contrast would be ridiculous. Everyone would realize they're supporting the wrong candidate, that the one they ought to be favoring is Tulsi Gabbard.
Right. I'm with you on that one. I got a different clip here. Let's try this. Maybe this will work. Hold on one moment here.
Sure.
Let me start with my headline tonight. I'm retiring.
Oh no, that's not going to work for sure. That's still really awful. But I'm sure everyone out there has already heard
You know what,
him.
Michael? It sounds like it's picking up on another microphone.
Yeah, it's picking up
whatever it is
somewhere.
you're running it
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
But everyone out there, I'm pretty sure, heard that. But it's quite ironic that our boy Chris Matthews has been taken out that way. It's quite funny. But under that circumstances, all of us have fallen victim to what he did. Basically, everyone's guilty of that. Every straight man out there probably is.
Well, let me just add, too, that now the National Organization for Women is telling Elizabeth Warren she should not be endorsing Bernie Sanders. I mean, this is ridiculous. Warren and Sanders were the 2 progressive candidates from the Democratic Party. And while their positions weren't exactly the same, they were certainly more closely aligned than won with Bernie than with any other candidate. Now, think about what's going on. You have all these other candidates on the left, absent, of course, Tulsi, who are endorsing Biden. All those I've enumerated, which is obviously going to enhance his vote. By Warren not endorsing Bernie, he loses the support he would gain. So you might as well have Warren being one of the other left-wingers who are supporting Biden. That's the role. And now this National Organization for Women isn't uttering a peep about Tulsi being excluded from the debate. I mean, for God's sake, she's from Samoa. She's not only a veteran, she's a woman of color. And she's a great candidate, very attractive. So obviously they can't have her on the same stage with Bernie and Biden, who would look like antiques next to Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi represents the future. Bernie and Biden the past.
Right. And Mike, I'm going to turn it over to you for one moment. What is your opinion on Chris Matthews getting Me Too, basically?
You know, I got to be very honest here. I don't have much of an opinion on him at all. You know, I heard the little that I heard. I really didn't follow it too much because, honestly, I really have no need for the man. And he didn't make an impression on me.
I can't really hear him, Michael.
Oh, go ahead now.
Can you hear me now there, Professor?
Yeah.
All right.
There we go.
All I'm saying is that I didn't pay much attention to the guy, and I don't know a lot about him, so I really don't think I should probably give an opinion where I don't know much about the subject.
Sure thing.
Good answer anyways, yes. But Mike, what do you think of the whole Me Too movement?
Well, you know, there was a this is the guy from Maryland that we're talking about, the Democrat from Maryland? Is that who you're talking about?
No, this is a host.
He's talking about the Me Too movement.
Yeah, we're talking about the host and the Me Too movement.
Well, the guy you just played, was he a candidate for the presidency, or was he the?
No. He's a host on MSNBC who just resigned apparently because he said something that was construed as sexist.
Yeah, no, I have no opinion on him because I don't know the story. But as far as the Me Too thing, look, you got to have, in my personal opinion, and I'm not a lawyer or a judge, but it seems to me, and I've been down this road, and I think, Michael, I think you have too. There have been instances in my past with women who have made certain claims about me, and they were completely false. My point is, I think the Me Too movement it's a bunch of horse shit because you need to look. I'm not saying that I promote rape or any of that nonsense. You know, I'm all about doing the right thing.
Right.
I respect those.
Yeah.
I respect those who respect me. But don't come at me and tell me just because, for example, Supreme Court Justice what's his name, Kavanaugh, he was accused. He was accused of a situation that took place in his college years, number one, and that he allegedly had been involved with gang raping women. Now, the whole story stinks because there was no facts that were proven. Now, my point is this, again, you can't just say, just because a woman accuses a man of some circumstance, that doesn't mean you have to agree with her. There is a process, and you are innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
And that is why we have courts and great white sharks as lawyers, and that's what we do to prove whether someone is guilty or innocent. So as far as I'm concerned, the Me Too movement, that means absolutely nothing to me.
So definitely.
That's right. It really does not mean anything to many people out there. It started off as a good sort of plan for some people out there, but of course it degenerated as things usually do. These movements, it starts off in a good place, but ends up going far south. Sad.
Like I said, I wholeheartedly support anyone who was, a woman that's been abused or
Sure,
raped or
right.
whatever by a man. And you know what? If it's proven, then hey, you have every right to throw that guy in jail for the rest of his life or castrate him, one or the other. But
Yeah, pull
you
over
can't
on the right. Yeah.
you can't tell me that just because someone stands up and says, "Oh, me too, me too." Give me proof, man. I'm the biggest skeptic in the world. Give me proof.
Yeah, let him get a little further ahead of you. The whole Kavanaugh thing was a circus, Michael. A circus. They had liars, 3 liars come in there and make up these phony stories, and they weren't remotely credible. It was absolutely disgusting. I've edited a book about Kavanaugh that I hope will be out shortly that just takes the whole thing apart. I mean, it was embarrassingly bad. Now, I happen to believe that Anita Hill was speaking completely truthfully about Clarence Thomas. There turned out to be a whole lot of evidence. The local video store, he had rented hundreds of porn videos from the video store. They didn't allow it into evidence. I mean, when he talked about, it's kind of shocking to think back about her report, how he asked, what's that pubic hair doing on that Coke can? But it's supposed to fit into a bizarre porn scenario. And I think Anita Hill was speaking 100% the truth, and that George H.W. Bush was really kind of caught flat-footed when it all came out and wanted to support what they claimed was the best qualified candidate when it was a ridiculous claim. It had no substance whatsoever. And it's really a bit of an embarrassment that Clarence Thomas is on the Supreme Court, but he's going to be there for decades to come.
And earlier we were talking about our boy, Joe Biden, and he's been making a fool of himself. Just the other day, I think he referred to himself as Biden-Bama.
Yeah,
An Biden-Bama Democrat. What was that all about? And Jim, do you think he's under the influence of any sort of drug at this point? Do you think, well, obviously he's at that age where he's taking, I'm sure, plenty of things, but do you think he's sort of losing his mind, Jim?
No, he's brain damaged, Michael. He's brain damaged. There's no question about it. He had a couple of aneurysms and they damaged his brain. And it's being manifest in these mishaps, which are really quite bizarre. There was a funny cartoon I used today in the 2 newscasts I had where a confused Joe Biden announced that he was dropping his campaign and endorsing Joe Biden.
Yeah, that's really, really bizarre. Did you catch that, Mike?
It is.
Yeah, I did.
I think he even mistook his wife for his sister.
It's not that
Yes.
He doesn't know what city he's in. He doesn't know what state he's in. He's even said he was running for the Senate. He said he was going to appoint the first black African American to the Senate. When number one presidents don't appoint members of the Senate, they have to be elected. And number 2, Carol Moseley Brown was the first black African American woman elected to the Senate. And in addition, he's been running against Kamala Harris, who's another black, not from Africa, but from the Caribbean.
I think Biden might be higher than I am, to be honest.
Say again?
I said I think Biden might be higher than I am.
Higher.
Yeah.
He's not on drugs. He's brain damaged, Michael. He's
not on drugs. He's gotten to the point
where,
and I say this respectfully, he's gotten to the point where he's reached an elderly age where he's beginning to have problems remembering. The guy is 77?
I believe so, right.
Yeah, and he's, and Bernie is 78, 79. These guys are not, and even Pelosi's 79. Get him out of office, for crying out loud. How do these people, I don't know how they go on for so long. Serve a certain amount of time, get the hell out.
Yeah, I'm not prejudiced against that age group. I'm 79 myself, but I'm telling you, Bernie is still sharp, and Bernie would take Biden apart during the debate. That's why they're having to modify it and have him sit in chairs and only take questions from the audience. I mean,
I agree with what you're saying.
They're limiting Biden's speeches of only 7 minutes duration. Now you got to understand what that means. The guy doesn't have the cognitive capacity to maintain that discourse for more than 7 minutes at a time. Otherwise, he's going to fall apart. That means the guy is virtually totally senile. I mean, he is out of it. He is demented. He is borderline dementia. And it's a function of these brain aneurysms. I guarantee you, if this guy were to go up against Trump, Trump would eviscerate him. I mean, he could eviscerate him politically on every ground. Trump just specializes in taking apart establishment candidates. And Biden is a prime example. But Biden is an unarmed man. I mean, it's going to be ridiculous because he's totally cognitively incompetent. Totally.
I agree with you on that, Professor. The only thing is, I just think that, and let me be clear, I wasn't saying that anybody who's an elderly person, shouldn't run for office. But what did you say? You're 79, but you've still got your marbles about you, and that's great. The fact is, Mr. Biden, he's losing it.
He's losing it for sure.
Yeah. But
and I say that respectfully.
Bernie is still competent, but Bernie is getting older, and you wonder. But this is why they can't afford to have Tulsi on the stage. It would just reveal, by contrast, that these are a couple of semi-senile old men. Even though it's true of Biden, not true of Bernie, that would be the inference that would be drawn. And this Tulsi Gabbard is such. She's a great-looking woman. She's such a competent candidate. She is so highly intelligent. She's so knowledgeable. She's so serious in her demeanor. She understands the issues. She's a veteran with multiple tours in the Middle East. I mean, it would be no contest. They can't afford to let her on the stage.
Yep, that's one thing I have talked about repeatedly on this program, that other women out there probably would not vote for her for a various amount of different reasons. We already went over that plenty of times by now. I'm sure Mike knows what I'm talking about for sure.
Absolutely.
That's right.
So there are all kinds of reasons why women prefer not to have certain other women who may be, shall we say, competitive with them in certain respects in the same arena.
Exactly, Jim. That's why most women out there can't even count the number of friends on one hand.
Look at Amy Klobuchar or Elizabeth Warren or Hillary Clinton. My God. I mean, these are not attractive women. And they don't have an agenda. And they don't have a program. There's even talk about Klobuchar being the running mate for Biden. I think that's just silly. Just silly. She's unappealing. She comes across as a middle-class housewife. There's nothing attractive about Amy Klobuchar as I see it politically.
No argument
and
from
Elizabeth
me.
Warren, of course. Elizabeth Warren is a school marm. She's constantly lecturing us. She thinks she's going to hit us over the knuckles with a ruler every time she speaks. And would you want that woman coming into your living room every night as President of the United States? God forbid.
I already have a headache just thinking about it, Jim.
You know what it is? She talks, when she talks down to people. She talks at people.
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't, she makes you feel like you're inferior.
Her arrogance is just so overwhelming. And then she claims to be a Native American. Harvard Law School said this was the first woman of color on their faculty, and then she did the DNA test, and she has less Native Indian blood than you or I, Michael. I mean, it's just a joke.
That is a joke.
And then she did this little farcical thing in her kitchen with her husband asking for a beer. Somebody suggested to her she needed to show she was a regular person by drinking a beer, and it was so contrived. I mean, my God.
I could
it's
hear.
a good thing they didn't show the brand, or it would have been a negative commercial.
Jim, I could hear Ryan back there laughing.
Yeah, he's enjoying it.
He's loving it. Yeah, let Ryan know we all said hello to him.
Good, I will. Yeah, they're saying hello to you, Ryan. They're saying they're glad you're here.
Mr. Dean Ryan.
Who's Ryan?
He's been on the show before.
Who is he?
He's a good man. He's a very good man.
Is it a mystery? Like who's he related to?
Dean Ryan and I have done a number of television events together. He used to be with Truth Be Told, which was out of Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And we did specials on various events. On one occasion, he did an absolutely unbelievable report about the John Benet Ramsey case that I think got deeper in exposing what really had happened than anyone else has been able to dig. And he actually has been to my home before and did a video of me when I was barbecuing ribs in the backyard that went viral. I mean, it was totally successful. So he's coming here to visit me to do a little kind of mini documentary about the history of my research on JFK, 9/11, Wellstone, Sandy Hook, the Boston bombing, the whole bit.
Very nice. Yes, I look forward to hearing that, or watching it rather. Dean does a good job, and I'm sure he's going to put out a solid product with you, Jim. No doubt.
Yeah, I think so too. Michael. I think it'll be fun, and I just enjoy having the guy around. So
yeah, he's a good guy. And Jim, before I even forget, do you have any updates on anything revolving the ever so controversial Sandy Hook case? Anything you could sort of share with us without going into too much detail?
Are you talking about Rebecca?
Sure.
Rebecca Carnes of Newtown mom. This is a woman who's third generation resident of Newtown. She had two kids in a Newtown school when the Sandy Hook event went down. And while she initially believed or sort of believed what she was told about it, through a very gradual process, she sorted out that, in fact, the official account isn't what really happened. So that I and Wolfgang Halbig, who've been at this for quite a while, received a letter from Rebecca reaching out to us for support because she was having to deal with other residents who weren't happy that she was coming around. And where I've now done, I think, 4 different interviews on
Did we lose him? There he is.
153news.net now. She went to her local energy provider, Eversource, to ask that the smart meter connected to her home be removed and replaced with an old-style heater. And they wouldn't give her customer service. You know, they said, well, they weren't really smart meters when they were smart meters because they had been activated as smart meters. But Rebecca's done enough research on smart meters and electromagnetism and 5G and all that to know that it was actually a potential health hazard. So she went out of concern for the welfare of her family. When they wouldn't give her customer service, she just sat on a bench reading a book for 3 hours, and eventually someone there called the police, and they actually arrested her. I mean, this is completely absurd, for first-degree criminal trespass, which is ridiculous because she'd been invited in by an employer, by an employee of the company. It was cold outside. He opened the door and invited her in. To me, first-degree criminal, that would be like breaking and entering, okay? She didn't do anything like that. And she sat there passively reading the book for 3 hours, determined to get someone to agree that they would exchange her meters, which they never did. So she found herself having to confront this first-degree charge, completely ridiculous. I had suggested to her she immediately notify Eversource to hang on to the video. They have a security video of what goes on in the lobby, and they assured her they would. And when she was about to have to make an appearance in court for an arraignment, she asked if she could have a copy of the video. They said they'd get back to her. And when they got back to her, they told her they were dropping the charges. So she goes into court. The Eversource is dropping the charges, but the assistant district attorney is up there having a conversation with a judge and with Rebecca's public defender, who may or may not be doing anything in her defense. I mean, this is all very dubious. And the judge directs her she's got to go to a mental health hearing, which is just ridiculous. So now it turns out, get this, because Rebecca has understood that Sandy Hook wasn't all it was cracked up to be, that 20 children and 6 adults didn't die at Sandy Hook, and it's fascinating to hear her talk about her own sojourn of discovery. Well, at one point, she downloaded the book, Nobody Died at Sandy Hook, which I published in 2015 with 13 contributors, including 6 current or retired PhDs, where we established the school had been closed by 2008. That by 2012, when this event took place, there were no children there. And then it was a FEMA exercise presented as mass murder to promote gun control, where we even have a FEMA manual for the exercise, which I included as an appendix. The book went on sale on 22 October 2015, and it sold nearly 500 copies when it was banned by Amazon on 19 November because it blows the whole case apart. And the deep state can't have that. Well, I was going to go on the Jeff Rent show as a guest that very day. So I announced on the show I was releasing the PDF of the book for free to anyone who wanted to download. And I have a friend who estimates the book has been downloaded more than 10 million times, which I account a great success because obviously I wasn't going to send 10 million copies of the book.
Right.
So Rebecca herself had downloaded a copy, and she explained to me how guilty she felt the first time she opened it and started to take a look, and that she had to put it down. She couldn't follow through. But later, as her confidence that something was wrong grew, she read the book, and she started talking about how clearly written, how wonderfully organized, how thoroughly documented, how copiously detailed. And it's true. Anyone can still find the book if they search for the title, Nobody Died at Sandy Hook PDF. If you don't have a copy, you need to, because this is an historic book in the history of American journalism. To my knowledge, it's the first book that Google, that Amazon banned. They had 20 books. At the time, they had 20 books about Sandy Hook, but the other 19 all endorsed in one way or another the official account. And you got to go. You'll go left. Right. That's right. We're just reaching the intersection here of the interstate, so we got to make sure we're on the right track.
That's true.
Google had 20 books about Sandy Hook at the time, Michael, 19 of which endorsed in one way or another the official account. One as completely absurd as to be written by a woman who claimed to be a first-grade teacher, and how she saved 15 kids. You got to get the left lane. Yeah. Now you got to get there. Yeah. 15 kids by stacking them into a 3x4 bathroom that had a door that swung inward. I mean, it's just absurd. You put those 15 squirming first graders averaging 50 pounds apiece, that's 750 pounds of squirming teenagers. And then she herself, stay on the left, yes. She herself, another 100 pounds. I mean, look, the door swung inward. This is just an absurd story. A single NFL guard or tackle at 350 would fill up the whole bathroom. I mean, it's just nonsense. Amazon is delighted to sell complete fantasies about Sandy Hook, but take a serious scholarly book with 13 contributors, they got to ban it. It's just a disgrace.
That's really strange. And Jim, by the way, how's our boy Wolfgang Halbig doing?
Oh, well, they're going after everyone who's been a serious student of Sandy Hook, and at least making a difference out there. So that they were railroading Wolfgang. They had him arrested in the middle of the night. I think it was about 4 o'clock in the morning. They had a squad come out and arrest him, handcuff him, and march him through a field so that when he did his mugshot, he would look particularly disheveled. This was completely disgraceful conduct on the part of law enforcement. They claimed it was a felony when it was only a misdemeanor. This is a complete abuse of the legal system. That's what's going on in the country, Michael. They are weaponizing the legal system to punish those of us who are speaking truths that the deep state would prefer the public not have access to. what's going on with him and what's going on with me
Yeah.
is a classic example of a SLAPP suit, a strategic lawsuit against public participation. Illegal in 27 states. So they bring a lawsuit for a very different purpose than alleged in order to punish those who are speaking out and have set an example for others that if they follow what we are doing and do the same, they'll be dragged into court. It'll last a very long time. I mean, I hate to tell you, the tab is running up here. It's just embarrassingly bad what's going on.
Yes, I could imagine he's not in high spirits right now.
Well, I got to be into court on Tuesday, on the St. Patrick's Day, where the plaintiff's counsel, this for Leonard Foster, this is one of the fake Sandy Hook parents, whose son Noah, actually, we have only photographs of Noah. He was a fiction made up of photographs of his older stepbrother, Michael Wagner. So I asked Larry Rivera to take two photographs without identifying who they were or the context, where Larry has done this brilliant work, mastering the principles of photogrammetry, which is the application of mathematics to the study of photographs. And he confirmed what we'd already established, namely that Lee Oswald was in the doorway of the Texas School Book Depository when the Kennedy motorcade passed by, based upon the height, the weight, the build, the shirt, and the T-shirt of the man in the doorway. The government has insisted it was actually a different person by the name of Billy Lovelady, who himself said he thought it was odd they'd be confused because he was 2 to 3 inches shorter, 15 to 20 pounds minimally heavier, and was wearing a completely different short sleeve red and white vertically striped shirt that day, whereas the man in the doorway has a long sleeve, richly woven, tattered, and torn shirt, which Marina, by the way, has remembered having longer. And, you know, it's very clear if William, not Billy, but what the government insisted was the facial features were those of Billy Lovelady. So Larry found a photograph of each of Billy and of Lee that he could superimpose over the features of the face in this very famous photograph taken by AP photographer James Ike Alton. And when you superimpose and set the distance between the pupils of the eye the same, in other words, 60 interpupillary distance the same, if this are the same person, all their other features fall into place. Well, when they performed the experiment with Billy Lovelady, the ears are too low, the jaw is too big, the nose doesn't fit. It's obviously not Billy Lovelady. But when you superimpose over Lee Oswald, it's an exact fit. The ears, the nose, the eyes, the eyebrows, everything fits. It's clearly brilliant confirmation that the man in the doorway was indeed Lee Oswald, which means, of course, he not only cannot have been the lone demented gunman who fired 3 lucky shots and killed the president, he cannot have even been one of the shooters, of whom we have now identified 8 different shooters, Michael.
8 different
and
shooters.
They all come from, and they come from different groups. It appears each of the groups that were sponsors put up the assassination, put up their own shooter. So one's a Dallas deputy sheriff, another is an Air Force expert, another is a Dallas cop tied into the CIA, another is an anti-Castro Cuban, another is a soldier of fortune tied into the CIA, another is Lyndon Johnson's personal hitman. It's like each of the groups put up their own shooter so they'd be tied together in the blood oath, as it were, that if any one of them went down, they'd all go down. Lyndon, of course, becoming president, was in the position to control the whole event, and there was a guarantee that no one would ever be punished for participating in the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
That's astounding.
I wasn't sure about 8. I thought there was only about 4 or 5 shooters, but you're saying there's 8.
Yeah, I'd identified 6. You can find it in my 4th book, JFK, Who, How, and Why, published by Moonrock Books, 2017, as I recall. And you'll find me identifying by, name, rank, and serial number 6 of the shooters, and only Damagard has identified a 7th who is in the Pergola area. You got a deputy sheriff who's on top of the county records building. You got an Air Force guy inside the triple underpass. You got a Dallas cop who's on the grassy knoll. You have that soldier abortion at the intersection of the triple underpass and the picket fence. Then you have Lyndon's personal hitman who was in the Dallas Expert on the opposite side. Then you had an anti-Castro Cuban in the book depository. Then you had an anti-Castro Cuban in the Dallas Tech. Those are six. The two additional was a shooter in the Bergola area who appears to be the Israeli representative. And then we have one more on the opposite side of the grassy knoll. There was a tree there. You wouldn't even think it would be possible for a hitman to be there, but I've seen two photographs, one in the possession of Rick Russo, the other in possession of Ed Tatro, different photographs of a shooter with a rifle standing after the assassination. Now, we have IDs of 7 of the 8.
I thought Mike was going to jump in there.
Who? Nope, me? No. I think we lost him, though.
Did we lose you, Jim?
Yeah,
you didn't lose me. I'm still here.
Oh, there he is.
I just stopped after explaining we hadn't ID'd the 8th shooter.
Understood.
But there were 8, and, you know, there were 10 or 12, maybe even more shots. In fact, I've been astonished that David W. Manick, who's the leading expert on the medical evidence, has now determined not just that there were 2 shots to the head. That was already my first book, Assassination Science, published in 1998, but that was a 3rd shot to the head that appears to have been fired by that gunman on the opposite grassy knoll. The one that we have yet to identify appears to have fired a shot that entered the left temple. The guy who was at the intersection of the triple underpass and the picket fence fired the shot that entered Jack's right temple. The anti-Castro Cuban in the Dow Tex fired the shot that hit Jack in the back of the head around the external occipital protuberance, that little bump on the back of your head where you'd recline if you were resting in a bathtub.
Yes. Right. Jim, I got to ask you. Jim, I have to ask you this question here. Why is this assassination vital to you?
Well, it's a transformation of the American government. I mean, you know, any president who acceded to that office after JFK knew he was only there at the barrel of a gun, and he could be taken out at any moment. And frankly, American democracy hasn't been the same since. And you had a lot of the same perpetrators who were involved in that event who were emboldened to pull off 9/11 because, you know, if you can deceive the American people with the kinds of absurdities that entered into the JFK assassination commonwealth, you can convince them of pretty much anything, such as that 11 Islamic terrorists commandeered 4 airplanes and caused all these atrocities under the control of a guy off in Afghanistan, when in fact he was our man in Afghanistan. Osama bin Laden was actually working for the CIA. He was instrumental in getting Stinger missiles into the hands of the Mujahideen they used to shoot down Soviet helicopters and planes and drive them out. He had the rank of Colonel Tim Osman. Colonel Tim Osman of the agency, where an official of the CIA visited him in a hospital in Dubai shortly before his death of his medical maladies in Afghanistan, where he was buried in an unmarked grave after his death on 15 December 2001. Where there were local obituaries in both Fox and CNN reported his death on the 26th of December. I mean, you can still find their announcements Osama bin Laden dead. David Ray Griffin, who's the dean of 9/11, he's got 10 books on 9/11, has a book, Osama bin Laden, Dead or Alive, about it. Nick Collerstrom, who's PhD, historian of science, celebrated for his work on Isaac Newton, among others. He's a leading expert on the London 7/7 subway attack. His book, Terror on the Tube, is now in its 7th edition. He cracked the event by discovering that the young Muslim lads that apparently had been talked into participating on a drill could not be at the tube stop when the explosion took place, exactly the same places and times as in the drill, because a train from Luton that day had been canceled. They couldn't even be there. And yet the official narrative has these young men who weren't even at the scene responsible for the explosion. Well, Nick also has a very nice blog on my blog at jamesfetzer.org. Some of it blog 1957 to 2001, where you can see photographs of many of the fake bin Ladens that the CIA was putting out afterwards to make it look as though he was still alive.
Yes, Jim. And one thing I find very interesting is the fact that you believe that 9/11 was a complete conspiracy, and Mike here, I don't think he believes that at all. You guys have very different opinions about 9/11, and Mike, I know you definitely don't believe in any sort of conspiracy that surrounds what happened that Tuesday morning. Mike, I'm sure you can explain better.
Well, to be perfectly honest, Michael, as I said, I'm a very skeptical person, and I tend to believe things that are proved to me. Now, what happened at the site of the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001, was devastating. I witnessed it. I was only a few miles away. I guess probably something to the effect of like maybe I'm going to say 7 to 10 miles away.
Left, right.
I could see it from my street and my window of my studio when I lived in Kearney, New Jersey. But what I'm getting at is, you know, you see something like that. It's such a tragedy. So many people dying. You know, you're watching something take place. So when I hear, and believe me, I have heard so many conspiracy theories about 9/11. One of the really main questions I've had is the whole Pentagon thing. Why they never released the plane actually hitting the Pentagon, and when you see the hole in the Pentagon, it doesn't look like a plane hit it. It looks like a bomb hit it. It looks like a missile hit it. So I'm not necessarily completely objective to the idea of a conspiracy theory. I'm simply not convinced of one until I can really get the proof. And I've looked at images online of planes that, you know, have bombs on or allegedly have bombs on the bottom of them, or don't have any writing on the sides of them, that, you know, they're not a commercial airline. So I don't know. I really don't have an answer for you, but at the same time, I'm open for suggestions. I need proof. That's the kind of person I am.
And what would convince you, Mike?
What would convince me? Wow.
What would be the big kibosh for you?
Say again?
I said, what would be the big kibosh for you, as they say?
Well, that's a really good question, Mike. I don't know. Just like I knowing there were 8 shooters that killed JFK, I would need to know. Somebody would have to come out and say, okay, here's what really happened on that day, from the government. Here's the records. But, anything's possible. Anything is possible. I've even read about or seen images online about the moon landing being fake. I mean, it never stops.
Yeah, it never stops. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, the moon landing was fake. I mean, I hate to disillusion anyone. I've done so much research on all of these subjects that, listen, let me point out, none of the 9/11 aircraft, the allegedly hijacked crashed on 9/11. None of them. 2 of them weren't even in the air. Flight 11, the North Tower, Flight 77, Pentagon weren't even in the air. So they certainly cannot have crashed since they weren't even in the air. Flight 93, Shanksville, pilots for 9/11 Truth using air-ground communication tracked Flight 93, and it was over Champaign-Urbana after it officially crashed in Shanksville. Flight 175, they did the same, and they discovered it was over Harrisburg and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, after it had officially hit the South Tower. I followed up and obtained FAA registration records that showed that the planes used for those 2 flights, and remember, the same aircraft could be used one day from Tampa to Chicago, the next day New York to Los Angeles, were not even formally deregistered or taken out of service until 27 September 2005. So how can planes that weren't even in the air had crashed on 9/11, and how can planes that crashed on 9/11 have still been in the air 4 years later? Not only that, but Building 7, which went down 7 hours after the Twin Towers, came down in a classic controlled demolition. All the floors came down at the very same time. You see that classic crimp in at the roof. All at approximately the speed of free fall, and you had a pile of debris, typical of controlled demolitions, equal to 12%, technically 12.5% of the height of the original. That was 47 floors, so it had 5.5 floors of debris. But the Twin Towers are completely different. All the floors remain rigid. The buildings are blowing apart in every direction from the top down, obviously not because of a plane, but because of powerful explosives. The buildings are being converted into millions of cubic yards of very fine dust, and when it's over, believe it or not, there's no pile of debris. There should have been 13.5 floors of debris if we had a collapse, and we were all told it was collapse, but it was no collapse at all. In fact, the buildings were being converted into very fine dust, which happens to be a signature of the use of nuclear devices. The U.S. Geological Survey did dust samples from 35 locations in lower Manhattan and found elements that in their quantity and correlation would only have been present had it been a nuclear event. So that I'm telling you, this was completely different than described to the American people. Of course, absolutely, it was a traumatic event, and the World Trade Center was destroyed quite slowly. No one disputes that. But how it was done and why is a whole other matter. And I just say, Michael, I would love for Mike to take a look at 2 videos I did a couple of years back, which are on BitChute, BITCHUTE. One is entitled JFK, Who Was Responsible and Why, where you get the skinny on 6 of the 8 shooters. And then also 9/11, Who Was Responsible and Why. Well, you get all the proof that none of the planes crashed at the alleged crash site. I mean, it's very thorough. And let me just tell you, by way, I don't make this stuff up. In all these cases, I bring together the best experts so we can pool our resources. I founded Scholars for 9/11 Truth in December of 2005, so I could bring together experts from all over the world, pilots, engineers, physicists, different kinds of engineers, aeronautical, electrical, structural, civil. And we did a very thorough job of dismembering the official account. And you'll find a summary or distillation, a distilled summary of our results in that video to which I'm inviting attention. 9/11, Who is Responsible and Why, on BitChute, BITCHUTE. And Michael, I'd like to say, if Mike could take a look at those 2 videos, I'd be glad to come back and talk about this in greater detail after he's seen, a presentation of the relevant evidence. It's just like Sandy Hook. Until you look at the evidence, you just don't want to believe. You just find it impossible to accept it could have been a staged event. So if you want that too, go to Sandy Hook Update. Tracy loses, Wolfgang wins. The deep state strikes back. I think that's also on BitChute, but it may be on 13news.net. And by the way, and this is just a finale, Michael, because Dean and I have now arrived here at Famous Dave's. He hasn't eaten. I got to take this guy in and get him a dinner.
Do your thing.
But for those who don't believe they can fake Biden, Hillary, they use body doubles for Hillary in the debates, even with Bernie Sanders and with Donald Trump. That's difficult to believe, but I guarantee you it's true. And you can find the proof in Fake News Issues of Identity, which also gives you the proof that it was Lee Oswald at the Book Depository. You also see Hillary used 6 or 8 different body doubles. It was really fascinating. In early 2017, the New York Times had a report, Hillary's in the House, claiming that Hillary Clinton had come to 4 different Broadway plays. And I looked at the reporter and said that was a very interesting story, but none of those were Hillary Clinton. I mean, it's ridiculous.
By the way, Jim.
If they can go that far in taking us out of our jocks, believe me, this Biden thing is going to be a piece of cake.
Jim, Mike has something to say to you. Go,
Professor Jim. Hold on. We jumped a couple of subjects here. please repeat the first website slowly. Is it BitChute?
Oh, yeah. BITCHUTE. Yeah, it's one of the two secure. There are a couple out there now, newer, but BitChute and 153news.net are two of the more secure websites. And on BitChute, you'll find Brian Rue was my host. So he introduces me, and then I do this thing. They're both, I think, an hour and a half to 2 hours. To lay out all the evidence. It's very comprehensive. You'll see the proof for yourself. The one is entitled JFK, who is responsible and why. The other 9/11, who is responsible and why.
I simply wanted to get the website so that I can check it out for myself.
Do that, Mike. I'd love for us to have a further discussion. And Michael, normally I'd stay on longer, but this is kind of a special set of circumstances here tonight.
For sure. We'll talk soon again, Jim. I do want to thank you again for joining us, even though we had this the strange car ride, which is okay, though. I'm glad we were able to bring it together.
It's just the way it played out, Michael.
I love it.
Way it played out. He was supposed to show up at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
No worries.
He got one of his connecting buses was late, and that meant he got in. It was officially going to be 8 o'clock, but he actually arrived early at 7. So I got over there early in anticipation of beginning the interview with you, and then him joining me in the car when he came out, but he was already there at the station, so I was able to pick him up, and we headed back before you actually had me on the air.
Word. No problem, Jim. I do want to thank you again. Like I said, it's always a great honor. And
of course.
Yes. So fun to have you here, Jim.
I'm very glad to come back, Michael. And I just say to Mike, just look at the evidence and then give me your thoughts in response, because I appreciate the sincerity of your beliefs. In all these cases, it's unfamiliarity with the evidence that leads to a divergence in opinion. The reason why in scientific research you have a convergence of investigators is because the community of scientists is investigating the same alternative hypotheses based upon the same available evidence and using the same rules of reasoning. When it comes to the community, the American population at large, none of that is true. Not using the same rules of reasoning, not considering the same alternative hypothesis, and most definitely not looking at the same available evidence. So it's because of my background as a philosopher of science that I know so much about scientific reasoning and methodology that I can make sure we do it right to get the correct outcome as to which hypotheses are best supported and which are not.
Fantastic, Jim. Stay safe out there. We'll do it again soon.
Thank you, Jim.
My
I
pleasure,
appreciate
Michael.
it. And
Thank
just
you,
so you
Mike.
know, I don't have any disrespect towards you, what you believe in. And I also appreciate the fact that you respect my opinion. And I'm very glad about that. Thank you.
100%, Mike, I do. And I would look forward to our having future discussions about both JFK and 9/11 when the time is right.
Absolutely.
Hell yes. All right,
All
Jim.
right, my friend. You take care.
Mahalo.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Michael. Always a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
And there he goes. And was that your bird, Mike? Did he jump in there too?
You heard that?
I heard him. Was he excited?
Well, they're both a little excited. They hear me. I'm right above them in my loft. So I'm looking down at their cages, and they're looking up at me, and they're wondering who I'm talking to.
Yeah, they're like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Right? They're like, what is going on here? By the way, I'm really disappointed. I mean, I had these little clips ready to play, and all of a sudden, they're starting to echo.
I got to tell you, Michael, I'm very impressed by that. I mean, you had a little technical issue tonight, but nevertheless, I'm sure when you work out the kinks, that's going to be really cool. I really like that.
The show must go on.
Absolutely.
You know how that
figure
goes.
it out.
Yeah, you know how that goes. But hold on, let me play this. I'm really angry now.
Nominated Democrat.
Wow, look at that. So I think it's a problem with the file, not the computer.
Have you ever had a problem like that before?
Not like this. Yeah, see, it was the file. Because right now what...
Strong opinions.
Yeah, it's the file. That is too bad. That is too bad. Yeah, it's the file. Not the computer. Yeah. Oh well. Well, we still got through it.
I'm very impressed that it's like a total real show now. Not that it wasn't before, but you're throwing in the outtakes from other shows and the quotes. That's great, man.
It's not a real show, Mike.
No, it's not.
It's a figment of your
conspiracy.
It's a figment of your imagination. This isn't even happening.
And it's a conspiracy too.
It is a conspiracy. And Mike, I gotta ask you: Are you freaked out about the coronavirus at all?
Well, to a certain extent, I find it a little disturbing, but at the same time, um, I where I live, I don't think I have much of a reason to worry too much. I mean, I live in rural Pennsylvania. Um, the most I would get would be like hillbilly disease, but
Hillbilly disease.
I don't. I don't know. I mean, I think they're kind of blowing it out of proportion just a little bit. I mean, let's face it, it's serious. Don't get me wrong, it's serious, but at the same time, we are combating the situation. What really irked me today, I was listening to the news, and I heard people that were talking about how Trump's not doing enough, and I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding. They just rag on this guy for every effing thing, man. They don't stop. The guy is not only is he dealing with world leaders, but he's working with scientists or
There's the
medical whatever scientists, and he's trying to do the right thing, and he is. But these people are still bashing him. Look, like I said last time I was on, it all comes down to they just hate him. They have no reason to support him for the things that he has done for this country. They just hate him. And now there's people talking about he's not doing enough for the coronavirus. Give me a break, man.
Now go home and get your fucking shine box.
Well, that works. See, there was no echo
much,
there. You heard that, right?
Yeah, I heard that.
That's right.
And
yeah.
so did my bird, I think.
It was the file. And the bird liked that too, I'm sure.
Yeah, he loves it. He loves when you swear.
Yeah, I like the bird. He's a good guy. Mike, what were you going to say until I interrupted you there so rudely?
Nothing major. All I'm saying is that obviously it's a serious situation. At the same time, I'm not. I mean, I don't think I have any reason to worry yet, or hopefully ever, about it.
According to the CDC, Americans over 60 should stock up on food and medications and avoid venturing out as the coronavirus spreads. Well, you know how the CDC is. Should we believe them? Should we not?
Look, Michael, what are we going to do? Just stop living because of this circumstance? First of all, we can thank China for screwing everything up, not giving us the proper bits of information, and keeping from us. Who was the doctor we had on last time that we spoke to who said China was keeping the numbers hidden from us about how many infected people there were and how bad it was? What was that doctor's name?
That would be Dr. Paul Cottrell.
Right. Remember what he said?
I do. I talk to him pretty often.
So essentially, yes, it's a serious situation, a serious disease. But let's face it, the American scientists and medical field are on it. We're doing the best we can right now, more so probably than any other country. Certainly more than China's done about it, because look where they are.
That's right. And
so
Italy,
I think we'll get it.
Yeah, someone in the chat room mentioned Italy, and yeah, they are facing some issues out there with the coronavirus, COVID-19.
I'm sure they are. I've heard a couple things about Italy. What's the death toll up to in Italy? Does anybody know?
Well, apparently it's 463 as of Monday.
Wow.
So that's pretty high.
It's I'll tell you, I saw a movie last week, an old movie from the 80s. I think it's from the 80s. It's called Outbreak with Dustin Hoffman.
That would be the 90s.
Was it the 90s? Okay.
Yeah.
And when I saw that movie back
95.
in the day. Say again?
95.
95. Okay. When I saw that movie back then, it made me think, like, wow, this we really could get wiped out by a virus that we couldn't control, just like the plague took over and killed something like 1 million people back in the day. And so yeah, it's a frightening thing, and it's this tiny little microscopic bug that we can't.
Sorry, it's dramatic.
It's this tiny little bug that unless we have medical science dealing with the circumstance, we could never combat it. Just like the plague wiped out everybody else because we had no idea what we were dealing with. Today it's a different story. We've come a long way science-wise. What do you think? What do you think about the coronavirus?
It's pretty fucked.
Point taken.
Well, I mean, it is.
It is. It's
apparently
a messed up situation.
Apparently, this is a big issue. I mean, the stock market is taking a hit. The economy is looking bad. Everyone is freaking out, it seems. And again, Italy goes on lockdown. All of Italy is under lockdown, apparently. I mean, it's a little unusual now. And a lot of people out there were saying this is a big hoax. Well, I don't exactly think it's a hoax. I mean, all these people that are dying, would you say that to them?
Exactly.
Are you going to say it's a hoax when they're fucking dying? Or are you going to say, oh, this is made up?
What also annoys me is the people who have, again, with these Trump haters, is just people saying, oh, Trump and the administration, they're the ones who created the virus and set it free. Come on. Really? That's what he's going to do?
Yeah, I don't believe that at all. I mean, come on.
Bullshit.
Ay vey. Ay vey.
Ay vey. Oy vey.
I'm sure you heard that out there in New York, right? Growing up.
What? Oy vey?
There you go.
Well, I didn't hang out too much in the Jewish section, but I know what it means, and I've used it several times myself. But yeah,
I've seen you.
It's not just a New York phrase, Michael.
That's right. I actually seen you on, what was that? Spy Society. You guys had that cover photo, right? You and the band. You guys were sort of dressed like, men in tiny hats.
Well, the interesting thing about that particular photo and the masks that we were wearing. Stop me if I told you this already.
You haven't.
Oh, okay. All right. So back in the day, it was the later part of the 90s. And me and the band, Empire Hideous, we were living together in a house in, where the hell were we? Garfield, New Jersey. And I got a call from a friend of mine who said, hey, there's a factory in Patterson which is used as a storage facility for this Shakespearean play company. And I'll tell you, man, they had rows and rows and rows and levels of costumes that were just amazing, and they were just getting rid of them. They were throwing them out. So at the time, I had this big van for the band.
Right.
So I went there for 3 days straight. I actually called into work for 3 days. I said, I can't come. I got to do something. And every day I went to this place and we just sat around and we waited for whatever they were tossing into the garbage, and we would pick through it. And I had a rabbit suit. I had a gorilla suit. I had army suits, like army shirts. I had all these hats, capes. I had capes that were so gigantic, I ended up using them as rugs. They were so big. But we came across these 4, maybe 5 masks, and they were images they were supposed to be scary old Jews. And it came from a play that was done that included these scary old Jews. And the masks that we were, they had these creepy faces with these long goatee beards, and they had the beanie on top, the yarmulke.
Right.
And just like, and they had these big noses and big teeth. It was just really creepy. So
Oy vey.
when I saw these masks, yeah, oy vey. When I saw these masks, I said, how great would it be just to use these masks in the picture for a promo picture? Now here's where it gets complicated. As we started sending out press kits to certain clubs to play, we had the images of the the photograph from that photo session with us wearing the masks.
Mm-hmm.
And when some of the promoters read the abbreviation of Spy Society 99, which is SS 99,
Correct.
they immediately pinned us as being like an anti-Semitic, like a Nazi skinhead band.
I figured.
Which couldn't have been further from the truth. I mean, I got nothing against Jews. I love Jews, and it was just hilarious. And they wouldn't book us because they thought we were a Jew-hating band.
I was gonna ask you that. How much was it? Well, rather, I should rephrase that. I was gonna say, how problematic was it for you guys to get spots with that sort of imagery, Mike?
Well, most of the clubs that I booked at, or I booked the gigs for, they knew who I was. So they knew that I didn't have any like racist bone in my body. I didn't have any issues with ethnic groups or whatever, or religious groups. And so they hired me to do a gig without a problem. But for some of the places that didn't know who I was, and didn't know the reputation of the band, or didn't read the fucking press kit. Ooh, can I say that?
You're good. Don't worry.
They were the ones who immediately tagged us as being a racist band. You see the name SS99, the first thing that comes to your mind is Nazi.
That's right.
That was the furthest thing from our mind. And like I said, the press kit read exactly who we were, what we were about. It was a gimmick. We were spies taking over the rock and roll industry. The killers of punk rock. That's who we were.
Right. And now I think it's an appropriate time to go over the fact that you are the official, unofficial host here on the program.
Indeed I am, and I'm very grateful for that.
I hope that wasn't too confusing for you, because I got confused as fuck saying that right now.
I don't even know what you said.
I don't either.
It's very confusing, but
it sounded good though.
I'm really glad to be a part of this, Michael. I've been waiting for 3 years to do something like this, and I finally, I've gotten the opportunity with you, and I'm very grateful. I really like it. It's something I've wanted to do for quite some time now.
I agree, and as you know, Mike, I don't really trust anyone, and you are one of the rare commodities in my life that I actually trust 100%. I'm always under the notion of DTA, which means don't trust anybody. And, I followed that mentality my whole goddamn life. But I do trust you, Mike, and I feel like if I was ever going to do a show with anyone, it would be you, Mike. I've talked to you many years. Even before I was doing a show, we were already talking.
Yep. And I appreciate it very much. I really do. That's very kind of you. And I tell you, man, I just like being on with you. You've got those golden vocal cords.
Oh, thank you.
And you're quite welcome. And I sincerely believe that you are going to go far in this business. I really do. So I think it's just a matter of time. And the more you push at it, and you just said before about not trusting anybody. You got to, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. And
Exactly.
That's what you've been doing for what? How long now? Since 2008?
I've been doing it for a while, but actually I started here back in 2016 alone.
Yeah, but you were doing it before that.
Oh, way before. Yeah, I've been...
Your old partner.
I've been doing that, but even before that fucking retard, I was already at it.
I guess you guys aren't on speaking terms anymore?
I'm not on speaking terms with a lot of people.
Oh, all right.
That's just the way...
Let's hope that...
That's just the way it goes with me.
Okay.
You're either in or you're
brother.
out, you know what I mean? There's no middle ground with me at all.
Apparently not.
No, not at all, man. I'm fucking cutthroat, to be honest.
All right. Well, like I said, you've been kicking it for as long as you have, and you've gotten as far as you have, and I sincerely believe that you're going to go further with this. I really do. You've got a great show.
Well, thank you so much for that, Mike. And for those that don't know, you are a very established musician, and occasionally you still get up on the mic and you still rock out there and you still play some gigs every now and then. And Mike, go ahead and
Yeah.
tell the people exactly how all this shit started for you, man.
Oh boy. Without going into too much detail, I've been on this show enough times. People might know who I am. If they don't, just go to MikeHideous.com, and that's Mike MYKE. But in a nutshell, I was once the ambassador of Cuba. I have walked on the moon, and eventually I started a band. After which I became a chef on a cruise ship, and then I got into painting. I was the one who painted the White House white, and here I am on this show.
And hopefully you don't have the coronavirus.
I had it, but I got rid of it. Just a lot of garlic and a lot of juice.
That's kind of what happened to me, or actually this week. I was actually very sick, and I thought I had the coronavirus. I thought I was going to die. And then 3 days later, I'm resurrected like Jesus.
Hey, what happened yesterday? What happened to your... Let's talk about yesterday's guest.
No, I don't even know what happened to that guy. We were supposed to bring someone on here, by the way, boys and girls, for those out there listening. We were supposed to interview another gentleman, but he had some sort of episode, to be honest with you, and I hope he's okay. I'm not sure if he's going to take himself to the hospital to get some sort of medical check. I don't know, but the guy couldn't hold his thoughts. He couldn't really concentrate or focus. He seemed to have some sort of a mental disability going on at the time.
Now, when you say that, is that your perception, like as he was talking to you? Like, is that what you got?
That's sort of the vibe I got. There's some sort of mental illness that sort of just came over and plagued the man.
Well, you know what? It is what it is. It was unfortunate, but you know what? It was unfortunate for me because I was like all excited.
Yeah, you were psyched. And I was psyched too, man. I was excited, and I'm sorry about that. But sometimes some people, they say they're going to do it, and then something happens to them. And matter of fact,
but it's
Mike,
all good, Michael. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
Matter of fact, man, there was 4 other people that I had in mind, and all of them are sick right now.
No kidding.
They're all legitimately sick, though. They're not making it up. Something is going on with these folks.
Well, it's been a rough winter. I'll tell you, I was sick really bad in the beginning of January. I ended up having to take myself to the emergency room. I was so sick. I was telling you that story the other day when you and I were talking on the phone.
Yeah.
But I think it's just been one of those winter seasons, and
it has.
Aside from the coronavirus, I think that it was just a rough winter, and we'll all get through it. But I was really fascinated by what you had told me yesterday about the guest canceling and for what reasons he canceled. Nonetheless, I'm happy to be here. I missed the first 2 days, but here we are, and we're going to be on a normal schedule from here on in.
Exactly. And of course, I have to take this time now and say I hope all of you wish Mr. David Dees well. He is not in a good place right now, boys and girls. He is actually battling stage 4 cancer, melanoma cancer.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so, I was reading about Mr. David Dees here. He left us a lengthy Facebook post, and I'm reading this, Mike, and I got to tell you, man, it got dusty in the room.
This is a listener of yours?
He's been on the show, David Dees. He's a well-known, I guess, artist, to be honest. He's an illustrator, and a lot of people have seen his work out there. And to be honest, Mike, a lot of people think I'm just really cold-hearted motherfucker, and, I usually am. But when it comes to people getting sick and having cancer, you bring that shit up to me, like I might even cry. That's just the way I am. I don't understand. Maybe I'm a humanist. But, when someone is suffering, that hurts me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because my family has a history of cancer as well. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know.
That's possible. Lord knows I've been through it enough times.
Exactly. You also faced that as well, Mike, and we've talked. And I've told you, man, I feel terrible that you had to go through all that. And That shit
Yeah,
fucks me up too.
7 times.
7 times. God damn.
Yep. Since it all started when I was 16 years old. And then like every 8 to 10 years or so, I'd have another episode of some sort. And I have been through it. I've had cancer 7 times. I've had chemotherapy. I've had radiation. I had surgery. 1, 2, 2, 3. 2 of the episodes were malignant, but the rest were all. I'm sorry. 2 of the episodes were benign, and the rest were all malignant tumors. So I've had my share, and the last time I had it was I had surgery in November 2016, and that was a very difficult time for me, and it still is, to tell you the truth.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you keep going.
Gotta
right?
keep
What
trucking,
can you
right?
do?
Gotta keep going.
Gotta keep going. Life is for the living, and you gotta make your way in this world. By the way, the artist that you mentioned, where is this person from? What state?
I think he's in Colorado right now.
Colorado?
I think that's currently where he's at. But
I'd like to check out his work.
Yeah, I'll send you his info. Hell, maybe I could even bring him in here soon.
Okay.
Yeah, so you guys
I wish him all the luck. I hope. You said stage 4?
Stage 4, man.
Ah, jeez.
I told him it's the bottom of the 9th and you need to do something here. He was telling me what the doctors wanted him to do, and he was scared. He was saying that he doesn't want to be paralyzed and this and that. And I told him that. I said, this is the bottom of the 9th, buddy. You got to go and fucking do it.
Yeah.
You got to. It's like a Hail Mary.
Exactly. And sometimes, I knew a girl, an ex-girlfriend of mine. She ended up getting breast cancer.
Oh no.
And she didn't want to go through the procedures to get the treatments, and she was going to do the whole thing homeopathically. I think it's the right way to say it, homeopathically.
Correct. You're good.
And I couldn't believe it when she said she had turned down getting the treatments. Like, she didn't want it. She got the surgery, but she didn't want to get the chemotherapy or the radiation therapy. And eventually it just developed, and it got worse and worse and worse, and now she's dead.
That's terrible. And you also told me about another girlfriend of yours who basically kicked the bucket in a very, very awful way, Mike. I'm not sure if you can share that story, but I really want you to, because that is heavy.
Back in between 2004, I think it was, or 2003, I had started hanging around with a girl that eventually I went steady with between 2006 to 2007. Beautiful girl, just stunning, beautiful, psychotic, but beautiful.
Yes.
And she had a lot of psychological issues.
Right.
Probably borderline schizophrenic or whatever it may be. But, she was one of these girls who was so good looking that guys did everything for her. And she got so used to that, that when she came into my world, I was like, no, I don't do that. I don't cater to every little fucking thing that a woman wants. You show me respect, I give it right back to you. So she didn't like that too much. So she used to battle me a lot, and eventually we parted ways. Particularly after I found out that she was screwing around behind my back. And right after that, she ended up committing suicide. Put a bag over her head and suffocated herself. And for the record, I've had, I think 5 or 6 girlfriends that I've gone with that are now dead.
Holy shit.
That's all I could say.
That's what I say.
That's what I say as well. My God. I was having trouble finding that sound drop here. I'm like, where's the holy shit sound drop?
Very appropriate. But 5 or 6 girls that I've dated in the past, they all died.
Are you under investigation, Mike? That's a joke.
No, fortunately, no. Some of the girls, one girl was killed in an car accident. Another one was found dead in a park. One died of cancer. Another one, I don't know if she died of cancer or what. She went to bed and died in her sleep.
Basically, life happened.
Probably, yeah, most likely. But yeah, suicide with one, and the rest were all freak accidents.
By the way, Visions of Valkyrie says, Mike, you need to write another book.
Wow. Who is that? Visions of Valkyrie?
Correct.
Well, Visions of Valkyrie, I thank you very much. I appreciate that. I would love to. However, I just recently sold out of the last re-edited, or I should say publication of the last book I did, which, by the way, I printed myself. I didn't even go through a publisher. And I have considered actually maybe re-releasing a third version of it with a new cover, and just cleaning up all the typographical errors that were in the last second edition. But to tell you the truth, the only other two books I had considered doing was one of my I wanted to do like a coffee table book of my artwork and photography, or one of each, like one of just my artwork and one of my photography, like, you know, one of those big I guess 12 by 11 size books that you just, you know, it's colored prints, glossy images of artwork or photographs. I had considered doing that, but they're really expensive.
That's expensive, yeah.
It is, and unless I had a publisher to help me release it, I don't think I could do it on my own unless I won the lottery.
Yeah, for those that don't know, you had that book, King of an Empire to the Shoes of a Misfit.
Right, that was an autobiography that I had written back originally. Wrote right after my experience as the lead singer for the Misfits in the summer of 1998, where I toured with them in Europe and South America. After I came off of that tour, I began writing a book. It took me 1 year to write the entire book, 1 year to go through all the edits with the editor who helped me prep it, and then the third year I spent trying to find a publisher for it. And then it eventually came out, I think, in November 2002, I believe, right before 2003. So I re-released it. I in 2014, I went and I re-edited the whole thing, new cover, new artwork, new pictures in the book, and then I put it out on my own. So the book has since sold out, and though I have considered republishing it or reprinting it, I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I got other things on my mind that I'm currently trying to deal with. So, you know, maybe in the future
eventually,
I might release it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. And I'll tell you the truth, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I had an idea of publishing another book about sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
I love that. I'm in.
Yeah, me too.
I'm in.
Not necessarily about me or the Empire. Well, more about me, but not about specifically the Empire Hideous or any particular band.
Liar, whore, you know it.
Sorry, I thought it was appropriate. Go ahead.
Just a book about a guy and the sexual experiences he's had, and the drugs and the rock and roll.
I love that.
Yeah. So
that's a good read.
It's a work. It's an idea in process. I haven't really committed myself in any way.
Well, Mike, I think it's almost time. I think everyone wants to hear that.
I hope so.
That's a good. That's a seller. That's a seller, my friend. And friend of show contributor, what happened on Twitter account Michael? He's wondering why I was suspended by Twitter for a couple hours.
What happened?
Well, you know, I was having fun with a few SJWs. And then one guy, he is a host of a show. I won't even say the name of the show because it stinks on fucking ice. And I told this random guy, I just said, that guy stinks. And all of a sudden, this other fucking retard joins in. And it's actually the host, Which is the most incredible part, is because anytime I trash any host out there, word gets around back to them, which I think is amazing, by the way. I love that. That actually is quite flattering, that my word somehow returns back to that individual every time, from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows every time.
Well, correct me. Well, please educate me, because I don't know anything about Twitter. I don't have it. I don't use it. I know nothing about it.
Well,
So
if you piss someone off, if you say something to someone and they get their little feelings hurt and they cry, they report you. And that's exactly what happened. So this guy, he was asking me why I thought he was a hack. So I explained to him right away in a very vicious, colorful way why I thought he was a hack. And I pretty much laid it out for him. And the next thing I know, the pussy actually reported me on Twitter.
Wow. And then I got to ask, did he respond to you like, you suck and your voice sounds like crap? Did he say anything like that to you?
No.
So he
had nothing.
Didn't say anything bad?
No, he had nothing.
So he was basically a wimp.
No, he's a mark for the show, that's why. He said he didn't know who I was or the show, and I just thought, dude, you go take some more of your pills. Maybe you'll remember. No, I talked to this fucking retard before, many years ago, and he was a mark back then, and he's still a fucking mark now. And, come on. It's a joke. He's a joke. His show is a fucking joke. It gets no views. It's pathetic. He's a beta male, basically, and an SJW, and he reported me. But the good thing is, I got an email from Twitter, and I simply said, this guy's a mark. That's all I said, and all of a sudden, I'm unsuspended from Twitter.
Wow.
I really put that. I just put he's a mark. So, it was pretty amusing.
What does this guy have? Like a YouTube visual show or a radio show?
No, he has a radio show, but the ratings are so bad. I don't even understand why he doesn't quit.
Is he just starting out?
No, he's been around. He's been around, but he's got low T.
Low T.
Low T and low ratings.
Is that low testosterone? What does that mean?
That's right. Yeah, low testosterone.
Okay.
he's a Blue Chew guy soon. Unfortunately. But yes, wow. That's what happened then. Twitter was on my side and unsuspended me, and now I'm back to having fun.
Good.
Isn't that lovely?
I was under the impression that your end of days show got pulled.
Well, there's no end of days anymore. This is the Michael Decon program now. We have cut end of days out. It's so you too closely extended with other unfortunate parties out there who I consider beta. Too many other shows out there use the name, and those shows kind of stink on ice too.
Gee, I wish you would have told me that earlier, because I was under the this must be recent, because only the last time I did the show with you, I'm pretty sure you had the Michael Decon program, and underneath the logo it said End of Days.
Not anymore. Times have changed.
And I believe you. I'm just saying it must be recent, because I thought that it was. This is I remember seeing it just a month ago.
This is much more marketable.
I agree. I totally agree. I tell you the truth, Michael, I was hoping you would drop that name. I really was.
Well, we have.
I think. Say again?
I said, well, we have.
I know. And I'm glad you did, because I think the Michael Decon program is a much better sounding title for the show, and ditching End of Days, I think, was a better move.
That's
for you.
The best move. That's right.
Good. I'm glad you feel that way.
And Mike, I have to tell you, we were talking about these exes of yours, and I'm sure me and you have gone through some pretty wild women in our times, and that's going to continue. And Mike, I got to tell you, Mike, there was an article I read recently about a Florida woman, an Instagram model, 23 years old, who had some sort of a bad breakup and was arrested for murder. She is an Instagram model, 23 years of age, and she allegedly shot her ex-boyfriend 15 times, killing him outside of his home. Mike, thank God you've never had experienced something like that. One of my worst fears is waking up with a knife to my fucking throat. And, you know, I expressed that to John McAfee before when I interviewed him. And strangely enough, the man has actually woken up with a knife to his throat before. My God, Mike, that's scary.
It is. And you know, as you well know, just about 2 years ago, I did date Satan's daughter. And
whatever happened to her, man? I was going to ask you. I mean, at one time she was trying to friend me on Facebook, and I thought, you know, Mike, I got to.
You're kidding.
Yeah, I had to tell you. Well, I didn't tell you.
No, you didn't tell me.
I didn't accept because she seemed.
Shit, man.
I had a feeling that she was going to try to.
Her.
Yeah. I was going to say she was probably going to try to trash you or something.
Oh, she does that to everybody. She's tried to befriend my ex-wife.
Oh my God.
She has since befriended one of my ex-girlfriends, who, by the way, I dated in freaking high school. And when Satan's daughter was around, she, you know, calling this girl every name in the book. Any girl I dated was, you know, a slut, a whore, a this, a that, a see you next Tuesday.
Oh my.
And all these names. But now she's hanging out with one of those girls. She's since dated, I believe, 2 of my ex band members. So you know what, dude? Que sera, whatever. She's out of her mind. I got nothing to say about her. Let's move on.
I know. I was going to quickly say, has she tried to resurface yet?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
as soon as the restraining order was lifted off of her after 6 months, literally the day after.
Oh my God.
She writes back, "Yeah, I'll always love you. I still love you."
Oh no.
Shut up. You know, it's such a like, get over yourself. You know, like you're going through my past. Oh God, whatever.
That is
so
terrible.
Sick of it.
I know. I'm sorry about that.
She totally tore me apart on Facebook.
She did. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and calling and saying all this private stuff that I entrusted her with to keep between us, even though we had broken up, and just blabbing it away, like just total childish bullshit, and it's so disappointing because
she was trying to Me Too you, Mike, before there was a Me Too movement. Right?
Oh, everything was a Me Too with her. Everything.
You're patient zero here.
Yeah. All she did was, just the victim. Everything she was a victim to.
Yeah, the victim mentality. You're going to find a lot of that.
Yeah.
Believe me, I know a lot of grown men, even the ones I parted ways on this show, have felt that victim mentality, and I thought, ugh, yuck, fuck off.
Fuck off.
Yeah, I don't play that shit. I don't like anyone who has that victim mentality. It's ugh. I just want to spit on the floor.
I tried my best. I really did. Let it be known. Let the record show that I did everything within my power to try to accommodate the needs, her needs. But nothing was good enough. And now she's, like I said, she's going through my past, all my past friends, and like hanging out with people that I've known. Just things that I would never do to an ex-girlfriend.
Shady, man.
Just pitiful, like shaming, embarrassing crap. My ex-wife called me up. She's like, "What the fuck is wrong with this girl?"
Oh man. The ex-wife even got involved. That's not good.
But because she was trying to befriend my ex-wife.
Yeah, well, that's what they do.
Oh God, how could you even do that to somebody? It's beyond me.
People are scumbags, man.
I would never do the things that were done to me by her. Never.
By the way, Visions of Valkyrie says love is a battlefield.
Got that right there, Visions of Valkyrie.
And of course, we have Oscar Langley saying, love is fake. Dishwashers are forever. That's the spirit, right?
Until they break down.
Yeah, until they break down.
I don't think love is necessarily fake, though. Do you think that, Michael?
Do you think love is real? Is that what you're saying? Or
no.
Love
is a choice. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about it. Love is a choice. I mean, let's look at it from a scientific view, okay? Animals, all right? Let's start with animals.
Okay.
There are animals that pair up and they become somewhat monogamous for a duration of their life. However, there are recorded episodes of males going to other females to impregnate them with their seed. So it's not completely monogamous relationships with certain animals, such as wolves, I believe, mute swans, other various animals that pair off for life. So when a human gets into love, it's a choice that the humans make to say, all right, well, we're going to be monogamous together, even though, and you know I'm right when I say this, Michael, even though the male species is the instinct of the male is to populate and carry on his seed to another female. That's just the way it is. I'm not trying to be sexist. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm simply stating scientific fact, okay? It's humanity that makes the decision to love. Animals don't do that. They pair, but they don't love.
They don't
just
love.
Like they don't have greed. They don't have pure hatred. Animals fight. They'll kill because it's instinct. They stay with one of their other species. I'm sorry, they'll stay with one of the opposite sex of their species because it's the right thing to do. And again, it's instinct. Humanity is the only species that, we're plagued by our own emotions: anger, jealousy, greed, even love, hate. All these things, they get in the way of humanity progressing. One of the biggest problems, I believe, is religion. Without religion to get in the way, could you imagine how far we would be in science?
That's true. Good point.
If we didn't hate each other, like each country and ethnicity hates each other, and don't tell me they don't, because they do. All these countries that hate each other and hate the Americans and hate the Jews and hate the Afghans and hate the Russians, hate the Chinese, the Japanese, the Taiwanese, the Mexicans. Everybody's, they're all better than you. So could you imagine how far we would go if we all worked together scientifically?
We would go far, Mike, without any of these humanistic issues that are not exactly as important as we make them out to be, man.
That's because, particularly with religion, it was started many, many years, tens of thousands of years ago. The gods in the sky, gods of lightning, gods of sun, gods of rain. And, we utilize that because mankind was uneducated back then, and we didn't understand what the world was about. So we create these things to make us feel safe and happy, so to speak, and secure.
Right.
And eventually, as it passed into the 17th century, 18th century, 19th century, 21st, we're still believing that there's a guy in the sky wearing a robe and a long beard, hanging out with a bunch of angels with wings, and that there's, a horned-tailed, red-skinned demon in the core of the earth with a bunch of other demons with pitchforks. So it's insanity. It's total fantasy. Again, you give me proof and I'll believe it. But don't tell me that there's a guy in the sky who's created everything. I'm sorry. When I look through the telescope and I look at another galaxy like Andromeda, or even another star that's like 100,000 light years away, don't tell me that God created that. That's just, it's improbable. Improbable.
And Mike, what do you have to say to those individuals who say, but what about intelligent design?
So what exactly would that mean?
Well, that's a good question. There's different people who bring up different variables of that. But, in terms of intelligent design, I don't see it that way. But then again, I'm an atheist, so of course I don't see it that way. And Mike, you're a Satanist.
Yeah, but what intelligent design? What would it be? What does that mean? Intelligent design.
Well, intelligent design, that's the theory that life or the universe cannot have arisen by chance.
Oh,
And
I
that someone must
disagree.
have created it in the sky somehow. That's
No,
that's
I
kind of the
disagree.
classic definition somebody would probably say to you.
If I may, my interpretation of life is this. I firmly believe that humanity is a cosmic accident, and eventually, if we don't get ourselves off this planet to another habitable planet, we will eventually become extinct, because eventually our sun will grow to a size where it destroys all life on Earth, and that's that.
Exactly, and
But
that's something I've always uh, wondered about myself, that eventually the sun will have to take us away, and the human race will have to somehow find a way off this giant island called
that's
Earth.
right.
Eventually,
That's
we're going to
right.
have to, and man, do I ever wish I can be there to see the Earth destroyed from another, of course, from another part of the galaxy. But I really want to be there when this island is destroyed. As cold as that may sound, I think it's going to be beautiful. I've had these dreams, Mike, these very apocalyptic dreams where the sky opens up, and these are like black and white dreams, but once that sky opens up, it's like a kaleidoscope of colors. Very,
Interesting
very,
concept.
yeah, it's very trippy.
Well, eventually, I mean, it's going to be billions of years from now, but unless either A, we're going to get hit by a massive meteorite or asteroid, whatever you want to call it, or comet that's going to slam into this Earth and destroy everything as we know it, including us. There's no doubt about it. Eventually, there's an asteroid out there with our name on it, and
Of
eventually
course.
it's headed here.
Don't
And
you
if
want to
it
be there to
slams
see
into,
that? But don't you want to be alive to actually see it happen from a distance?
if it happens, Michael, I mean, de- depending on what your definition is of wanting to be here to see it. If you're on this planet, you're not going to survive,
Of
because
course
it
not,
will
yes.
affect the entire world. And uh, as amazingly glorious as a chaotic event, chaotic, catastrophic
Right.
event like that would be, and believe me, there is beauty in chaos, but as chaotic as it may be, it's going to wipe us all out. Now that's just saying if a meteor or a comet or something hits the Earth. Let's just say for another 20,000 years we go without getting hit by a major asteroid. That still means we have to beat human population, which we're already up to 7.8 billion people. All right, and the population has exploded since the early 1800s. All right. I
Of
think by the
course,
early
yeah.
1800s, we had hit 1 billion people on Earth. And ever since then, I think it took 130 years to reach another 2 billion, and then another 60 years to hit 3 billion, so on and so forth, until we hit 7.8. So, what I'm getting at is this: we have to still surpass the overpopulation of humanity. We're like a plague on this earth. We're like fleas on a dog.
We are
Okay,
cancer.
that's right. And eventually, we're gonna die, but the earth will continue to grow.
Yeah,
They've said that
the Earth doesn't give a
they've.
fuck about humans, for sure.
That's right. And it just like it didn't give a fuck about dinosaurs
No,
or the
not at
other
all.
variations of prehistoric animals that were on this planet. And I forget how many different eras of life we've had that have been destroyed or gone extinct. And here we are for what, the last, I don't know, 100,000 years as humanity. Um, but eventually, everything goes the way of ashes on this planet. So, we're going to have to get through all these things. And we may end up destroying ourselves with a nuclear war.
Never know.
Now that we know how to split the atom, I'll tell you, I really wish sometimes that I was born in a much simpler time. Sometimes I wish I was born in like the 1800s or even the 1700s. I firmly believe that I would have been probably a student of like Tchaikovsky.
Do you think you would have been happier though, man, going through that?
I think so
you
too,
think so?
because as cool as some of the digital technology that we have today, like television, computers, internet, all that shit, some of it is just bringing us down because you see every time I'm on the road, I see kids getting out of school, they all got their heads down looking at their cell phones. Life is just passing them by. I grew up in a time in the 70s and the 80s when we didn't have all that jazz. We went out and we played and rode our bicycles and played ball and football, and we'd hang out on the streets at night, and it was a different time. Now everybody stays inside and they're on their fucking computer. I can't stand it.
Well, I mean, it's not going to be any different from what we're going to experience now, according to the
I know.
CDC.
I know, but you know what I'm saying. It's
yeah, I get you, man. Of course.
We have to go. There's so many things that could possibly happen. A plague, a virus. Who knows? But I sincerely doubt we'll ever get visited by another species from outer space, like another living species, because it's such a vast distance between us and another potential solar system with a planet that contains higher intelligence than us. I just don't think that anybody is capable of traveling at light speed. It's not capable. We're not capable of doing it. At least we aren't. Maybe another species is, but even if they are, when they get here, are they really going to kill us and eat us?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they don't even want anything to do with us.
Probably not. I know I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either, to be honest. We're not exactly that special to begin with.
We certainly aren't. No way. There's no way. And like I said, that's why I think we're a cosmic accident. We are purely here because the science, or for lack of a better term, the genetic soup, if you will, of life brought the microbes to this planet through a comet and brought water with it. And that's how life began, purely by accident, completely by accident.
That seems to be the most sense of it all, to be honest with you. Once you fully understand science and the way things work, you would have to perhaps come to the conclusion that panspermia is definitely how we came to be.
No doubt. I sincerely don't believe in God.
I don't believe in creationism at all, by the way. And we do have Kent. We do have someone of notable fame who is a hardcore creationist, Kent Hubin. He has this this theme park, by the way, and he's going to be a guest on the show soon. He was supposed to come back here a long time ago. And my God, Mike, I can't wait for you to talk to this gentleman.
Good. I'm looking forward to it. But I'm totally respectful. If that's what you believe, that's fine. I respect that. But...
He's a young Earth creationist, by the way.
Okay. And you know what? That's fine. But
he's very well known.
The day he dies, he's going to notice that when he opens his eyes, it's going to be black, and there's not going to be any angels or guys on clouds with robes. It's just no pearly gates.
They call him. He goes by the name Dr. Dino.
Dr. Dino, huh? Does that mean he's into dinosaurs?
Yes, he has like this theme park. It's just man and dinosaur together.
Oh,
he's one of these guys. One of these guys. 6,000 years old kind of guy.
Right.
That's
okay.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the vibe.
You try to tell me that the planet is 6,000 years old, give or take, and that we were on the same planet with dinosaurs. And I'm sorry, but take a look through a microscope and focus on Andromeda, which is the closest galaxy to our Milky Way, and it's something like, oh, I don't know, I might be wrong in this number, but something like 150,000 light years away. You realize how far that is? Like
Pretty far, yeah.
Trying to comprehend the distance of the galaxies is just, it's mind-boggling. It hurts my brain.
It's very crazy, yeah.
Yeah, so to tell me that we walk, like, we were created by dust from God and the rib,
the mud. Yeah.
Come on. It's just, it's a fantasy, man. It's a fantasy. How many times I can say it here? Show me the proof and I'll believe it. That's why science is above all. It shows you the numbers.
The numbers, and of course you have to have tangible evidence to prove and back up your claim. And lots of times these folks really don't have anything substantial to back up any of their claims.
No, because it's all blind faith. That's why we're supposed to believe a book that was written 17 to 1800 years ago by people who we don't even know if they actually existed. There's no solid evidence that Jesus Christ walked this earth. None at all. I've read many books on it. My particular favorite books are the books that say that he did exist, but ended up having children and left Israel or Jerusalem for Gaul, which was France at the time, and had children, and that there's a possible bloodline protected by the Priory of Sion. So I kind of dig that kind of conspiracy theory, but I can't be an audience to the theory of creationism.
I hear you.
Did I say it right?
Yes, you did. And Mike, I'm living on shattered faith, to be honest with you.
In what way?
In every way. Faith is the absence of evidence, in my opinion. I'm not sure if you agree.
Are we speaking strictly about religion?
Yes, we are.
Well, yeah, that's what it is. Blind faith.
Yeah, I'm not with that.
You can't be. How can you?
And Mike, I'm sorry to move on for a moment here, but someone caught my eye. Someone in the chat room caught my attention just now, and it sort of made me giggle, and I had to mute myself a moment ago. Yes, let me find it. I think they said something about Mike Ness from Social Distortion.
Okay.
Did you ever meet him?
I wish I did. I really like him, but I never did. No.
So you never met him?
No. Is he a changed man?
No, I was just going to say, every time I've heard something about him, people say he's a dick.
I've heard the same.
Yeah, well, he probably is not so friendly.
It's possible, but you know what? I don't really care. I respect him. I love his music.
Sure, me too.
And I think he's gone from a hardcore punk rock guy to rockabilly to whatever he is now, and I'm very happy for him.
And someone else, she blinded me with science, says, has Mike ever meet
Thomas Dolby?
Jello? You know Jello from DK.
Jello Biafra. What about him?
Yeah, you met him, right?
I never met him, but I did see the Dead Kennedys play back in the 80s, which was one of the most violent, awesome hardcore shows. I was a hardcore punk back then. I was straight edge, back when I was like, how old was I back then?
Wait 19, 20? You were straight edge back when you were like 20.
Actually between the ages of like 17 and 21. I was straight edge.
Wow, how is that even possible?
Wow. Well, I was a young punk rocker.
I started out. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was saying wah wah wee wah, like Borat.
Yeah, I started out like for a lot of the kids, or I should say my generation back then. It was like, first thing you got was "Never Mind the Bollocks" by the Sex Pistols. Then you got "Plastic Surgery" by the Dead Kennedys, and then you moved on to Black Flag, Damage, and everything after that. So that was the 3 steps you took in punk rock. And I was no different. I from high school, I went in my freshman and sophomore year. Freshman year, I was still like kind of a metalhead. Judas Priest, AC/DC, Motley Crue, Kiss, all that stuff. And by sophomore year, I discovered bands like Gary Newman, B-52s, and I really started getting into new wave, Psychedelic Furs, David Bowie.
Damn, you were a hipster before it was being called a hipster.
Yeah. Well, those bands were great back then.
Yeah, they were good.
They're
good.
You know, even bands like U2 were still like awesome. They were,
how dare
playing
you?
Clubs.
That's one band I just can't. I just despise.
And that's cool. And they've gone a different way now. But back in the 80s and the early 80s, they were a different band.
Right. I'm talking about the more recent rendition of U2. I just can't stand. It just stinks.
And I totally agree with you. But aside from them, what I'm getting at is, these bands, I started getting into them. And then by junior year, I was still into new wave. And then by senior year, I was totally punk rock, and then got into the hardcore thing. And then I started changing into the death rock thing, TSOL, Alien Sex Fiend, Batcave death rock, the Misfits, so I was all getting into the horror thing, wearing black clothes, doing the devil lock haircut. And then I grew up.
You grew up, yeah. You started wearing a suit.
That's right.
You started wearing a tiny hat in New York.
A tiny hat, yeah.
Yeah, you started being a good boy.
I still love all that music, and but there was a point in time when I was straight edge, and
oh my God,
I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, and then eventually when I turned 21.
So wait a minute, Mike. Wait a minute. So you weren't drinking and you weren't smoking. So how were you having fun? That's what I want to know.
Oh, I had fun. We used to go out on like weekends, driving in my car, me and my friends, and we used to look for roadkill, and we would go hack off the heads of the roadkill that we found, like possums and raccoons and squirrels and whatever. And then we'd take them back to my house.
So you get the coronavirus.
We would take them back to my place, and we would peel the skin off and collect the skulls.
Oh my God.
That was the thing we could do. Yeah, we were having fun back then.
You could add that to one of your sets, Mike. couple raccoon skulls going on. And actually, that's something I wanted to implement here on the program. And I wanted to talk to you about that. Create some sort of set behind me. And we can have all kinds of dead animals and shit like that. And upside down crosses and all this wild shit here.
Well, Lord knows I have plenty of skulls and bones and gargoyles.
Yeah, we need to do that, man. I need to set up something like that and have this room all smoky and make it look all wild.
Yeah, I didn't know you were into that sort of thing. I just didn't picture you being
I'm gonna dress up. I'm gonna wear a top hat. I'm gonna wear a cape and I'll look insane. Yeah.
Look like Zachary.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I think people watching for the first time, they'll be thinking, "What the fuck is this? Why did I find this?"
I think that would be a good thing. Actually, I kind of. I endorse that very much.
It'd be great, and I was thinking you would be the man to talk to get the creative juices flowing, as they say in the biz.
Indeed. I can even get I have two full skeletons actually. One is real, and one is resin.
I kind of want the real one.
Skeletons. Yeah, the real one I got from a biology teacher.
Oh shit.
Yeah, an ex-girlfriend of mine, her aunt was a biology teacher, and they were getting rid of this skeleton that was completely dilapidated, like just broken pieces. Like, the students screwed around with it. It had a hole in the head, in the back of the head. I redid the whole thing. I patched it up. I fixed all the broken limbs that weren't connected, like the arms and everything, and rewired them. And then I shellacked the entire skeleton, and now I still have it hanging up in my music room in my home here.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yep.
That sounds pretty good. And Mike, I have to say, we are almost running out of time here.
Sir.
We are almost running out of time, and my God, Mike, I'm looking back at all these messages here about the coronavirus. People still want me to talk about that. I'm not quite sure. We sort of already covered that, and we sort of brought the house down very much like a quarantine hospital in China.
Well, you know what? to end off on a note, it is my personal opinion that yes, this is a serious thing. However, can't stop living simply because of what's going on. So in my personal opinion, I think people should stop listening to the mainstream media and go back to your radios, listen to what the news is on radios, because you don't have people on the mainstream cable network news giving you opinions rather than journalism. They instead of giving you the journalist version of what the news is, they're giving you opinions, and that's not journalism. So all I'm saying is that, yeah, it's serious, but at the same time, you got to use your common sense here.
That's right.
And know what the right thing to do is. Wash your hands. Try not to be in contact with people you don't know. It just is what it is, man. We got to deal with it, and eventually, I guarantee you, we will get through this. I guarantee it.
That's right. Mike,
Michael, if I just may, I got to tell you one
ahead.
thing. Since I'm your new co-host
That's
here,
right.
I was really under the impression I would have to do more like of a Ed McMahon thing and come on as here. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Michael Decon program, Michael Decon.
I like that, actually.
You like that?
You might have to use that.
And I can say things like, yes, sir.
Ooh, I like that too.
You like that?
My God. No, but I do like you joining in more and talking and riffing here with me.
Absolutely. I love it. Thank you so much.
I
I'm so happy.
appreciate it.
Thank
I appreciate it. So yes, we have ran out of time here yet again, boys and girls, and we are going to take it home. I want to thank all of you out there for being a part of the program. Those of you in the chat room, love all of you very much. And remember, you can get a hold of me via Twitter at Michael Decon. Send me a message there, and I'll probably respond to you. And Mike, where can people find you, by the way?
If anybody's interested in connecting with me, you can go to Facebook, which is my Facebook page is Hideous, Hideous, Mike, Myke, Hideous Mike. And I also have a website called Mike Hideous, Myke, hideous.com.
Amazing. And don't forget, if you're a fan of the program and want to help fund the program, you can always join the Patreon, Michael Decon /Patreon, and there is some exclusive content never before heard anywhere else. So if you like the show, sign up to Patreon. You'll get the history of this program. And Mike, I need to actually send you that very first episode I did on Patreon where I sort of covered the backstory of this show, and I laid it out pretty goddamn hard. I held nothing back, okay? I went wild on that one.
I'm looking forward to it. Please send it to me. I'd like to check it out.
All right. The address is patreon.com/Michael Decon. And of course, Mike, I will definitely send you a link to that. And of course, international listeners out there, thank you so much for your support. You can find the podcast rendition of this program on iTunes, Google Play, Castbox, and no longer on Stitcher. They are SJWs there. Don't support Stitcher. Fuck Stitcher. Go to Castbox, much better. Stitcher stinks on ice. And yet again, interesting night once again. I hope all of you enjoyed it very much. And Mike, I had a ball with you, to be honest. I came alive once I turned this shit on.
On a night like tonight.
Exactly.
On a night like this.
On a night
like this.
You got it, my friend. You got it. And of course,
I'll tell you, so professional. I love it, Michael. It sounds great. Absolutely great. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
I'm so excited.
And of course, I want to thank our first guest, Jim Fetzer. That was something else. He was on the road. I was scared. I thought he was going to drive off the road. You had Dean Ryan there at the wheel, that bad man. Who knows what could have happened? It was pretty amazing, right?
Oh, it's amazing, all right. I'm trying to get a word in edgewise.
Oh my, indeed. Well, Jim Fetzer, he's like a Mack truck, you know?
No kidding.
He's like a train.
Non-stop Mack truck. Runaway.
He's a train, my friend, and that's why we love him here. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. James Fetzer. My God. And remember, Mike, stop shaking hands with people out there.
I haven't shaken anyone's hand in probably 4 months.
Good man. Don't do it, Mike.
Yeah, I don't see anybody where I live. Nobody visits me. I don't see anything. I live in the woods, my brother.
That's true. That's true. You're a lucky guy, away from all these distractions and
watch with my luck.
chaos.
I'll get attacked by a bear.
A bear, yeah. You got bears out there, man.
Oh hell yeah! Well, I had one in my yard actually just before winter. I was in my back room. I was closing the blinds. I saw this gigantic black blob, and I at first I didn't know what it was. I thought it was like the bushes had moved or something. And then it moved. And I'm like, holy crap! It was this gigantic black bear just walking through my yard. It was just amazing.
Well, Mike, I envy you on that one. I see people as potential menaces, to be honest with you.
In your neighborhood, per se?
No, in life in general.
Okay.
Yes. So, Mike, I want you to stay safe where you are.
Absolutely.
I want you to say goodnight to the listeners now.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. I want to thank Michael Decon for my very first official night as co-host of the Michael Decon program. And if anyone has questions, I'm sorry I don't get to see the questions on the YouTube chat room. But so if I haven't answered anything, I apologize. Nevertheless, thank you very much for listening, and we'll be back tomorrow, right, Michael?
You got it. Same. Actually, we won't be back tomorrow.
So we're not doing tomorrow's show? Okay,
no,
got it.
Here's what happened. That guy actually sent me an email, and guess what happened to him? He's sick too now.
Jeez.
I'm telling you, everyone's getting sick. I don't know if it's a psychological thing, but 4 different people are actually sick.
Wow. Well, if you decide you want to do the show with just you and me, let me know before 8 o'clock.
I'll be letting you know. Mike, I will talk to you in a moment here.
All right, brother.
All right. Hang tight. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you so much for being a part of the program. We'll do this again ASAP, and I'll let all of you know. And yes, stay safe, everyone, no matter where you are on this island Earth. I'm Michael Decon, and with that said, the world is a mysterious place, and life itself is a mystery. Until next time, good night, everybody.